Well, it's exactly 2 minutes past 8 and you're still watching Smart Means Business. I'm Andrew Bariji, of course, in here with Joram Polsunko, driving your business this very morning. But of course, before we proceed into our business tips and quotes, the markets on the Zabo platform, just a few minutes left for them to be operational. Now, for you to be a part of this, it's quite very simple. Just *292# definitely, which is the USSD code, which will avail with a number of options where you'll be in position to buy government bonds and securities for a fee of just 15,000 Ugandan shillings. Now, the markets open at exactly 8:15, running all the way to 3:15 p.m. East African time. And this is effective Monday up to Friday, apart from the weekends and the public holidays when these markets cannot be accessed. But despite the fact, all these days you have them to capitalize and make yourself quite some profits, something which I believe is very key and instrumental for your financial development as an individual and as a trader as a result of that. Now, of course, with that, you just have to register with your national identification number. Zabo says, "My money, my future." And All Tech East Africa tells us, do something new. Of course, it's the year 2023. And now let's switch and take a look at our business tips and quotes. Well, formal education will make you a living and self-education will earn you a fortune. I think those are battles that, two lines in which we operate in, and we have distinct, the world is divided into those two groups of people, and those formal education and the self-educated, but having both is better.
I think even those who have been through formal education, who have been through school, have as well been able to at least, teach themselves a few things.
A few things, yeah.
I think self-education is more like which skill can you learn every day? Which other ideas are you learning? Which other ideas are you
obtaining?
Are you obtaining every day?
Yeah.
Which person are you which people are you meeting up every day? What do you learn from them? I think that is the kind of self-education we are in. And even when you look at the world we are of business, the fact that you have your own business doesn't limit you to learn more businesses. But I think the only problem we have as a country is every day when you're learning something, you want to just emulate what the other person is doing. Now, every single time when you look at, for example, someone who says, I want to, let's say, do this kind of business because I've seen Andrew doing it and he's successful. So, that is the only challenge we have with self-education, that you don't concentrate on what you can do best, but you rather want to pick every idea at the same time. Something that formal education actually, shapes differently. Because when you look at formal education, we have different subjects. Out of the subjects that you're studying, for example, in high school, there is always a period where you have to make some selection. Of course, they are compulsory subjects, but then there's a time in O level, especially, where you make some selections. That is if at all you're following our curriculum that we have, the main curriculum for most of the schools. And then in A level, what happens afterwards? You even have to choose
further.
A combination of 4 subjects for your own self. So that is how specialized you're supposed to always be. But with the self-education, unless you're really patient with yourself and you want to learn a few things. I'm using the example of business because I've got to realize that quite a number of times we never give ourselves the chance. Someone once told me comparison is the devil.
Comparison,
Okay, is the devil. That once you start comparing something to something, then believe me, you will never be satisfied with what you have. Because if you're looking at someone's business and you think since you're not making enough money in your business, you will make more because the other one is making, you really don't know what the other person is doing.
I agree.
You understand? That at times you may actually think, since the other person is doing that business, the chances are high you're going to make more money like the other person is making. But of course there is something you've forgotten, that every single day everyone is just mastering their craft.
Their craft, by the way.
With self-education is teaching myself something new and mastering it. Because you may be good at something, but then you neglect the idea. You feel you're good at it. Let me just neglect.
And you don't improve yourself.
You don't improve yourself. But then there's someone who doesn't know a lot who will come in and learn how to do what you're doing and then craft. Add to that craft, and they start monetizing their craft and making more than you do. So I think with self-education, I think, like you mentioned, it needs us to have both. But I love the idea of specialization in how we learn these things. Is we're not supposed to be picking ideas every day. However much we say it is right for us to pick a skill every day or learn something new. But what do you do with what you've learned? For example, if you learn something on a Sunday, how are you going to implement it on Monday?
How has it impacted you then?
You may learn something on Sunday, forget about it, learn something new on Monday.
And you forget it.
And you forget about it. So in that cycle, it's better maybe to learn something and work on improving it. Or in the simpler way is if you learn something on Monday, the next few days should teach you how to improve
on that
thing. So I think that's how self-education will help us generally as individuals.
Actually, self-education reminds me of the former president of the U.S. who passed on, one of the best presidents America has ever had, Abraham Lincoln. It's not written in anywhere that he went to any university or graduated anywhere, but he was very intelligent, and it was all about, self-education. It's what he relied on. Because I come to realize one thing, what I learned from him was that with self-education, you get to know who you are.
As an individual. Your personality comes
in better.
Who you are.
Because we are in a world whereby the education system is driving us in a way that we find conflicts every other day, of which is okay because we need to get through the system anyway. But you find that once it becomes the basis of your identity, that's why it's going to be conflicting. It's the reason why you find people, you started to be a doctor, but you're a journalist.
Yes,
you're doing something totally else.
I think the system has actually ruined how we do things.
Perfect.
To the fact that it affects the flow of communication in the world that we are in. I've been to, let's say, local council meetings, and I've seen how they write minutes. It has no formal way of writing the minutes. Okay, the formal way you need to understand is just the order. To them, it's just the order. For example, if they started to write, if the meeting started at this time, first and foremost, the secretary of the day will just write and say, we'll give you a big header. This is, let's say, our meeting for today. Then they will actually start with what they are going to discuss. Simple. Then after that, he starts writing down what they discussed, the conflicts, the disagreements, the agreements, the recommendations. After the end of the day, he writes down the names of those who attended. Now, in the formal sector, they want you to follow a specific, a specific template. I would call it a template.
Perfect.
This is where we've actually got issues with people saying someone doesn't know how to write an email. But then ideally, the other person has actually put the information,
the key information,
the way he feels it's supposed to come out.
Perfect.
So I think with the system that we have, the bureaucracy within the formal education world is it limits us, and we are so
To exactly, it limits
that
yes,
someone
yes.
wants you to write an email in the way they actually taught them in school. So if you don't write it that same way, they deem your information very disorganized.
Vague and disorganized.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But remember, the essence of communication is letting someone communicate in a way they feel is right for them. Now, it is up to you to ideally buy their particular message, because at times when you're sending out information, however good you are as an informer, it makes no sense if I told the person you're sending the information
doesn't understand. Perfect.
So the essence of communication is making sure the other person understands. How they understand is strictly up to them. Whether you've written it so well, whether you've written it in a wonderful format, if I can read through and I don't make any, and I don't understand anything, it is vague communication. You've not communicated. I'll just say you're poor at communication.
Okay.
And I think when you mentioned something about the system, it has actually affected us in the formal education world. That if, for example, business, you know so well that once you're done with school, the only way for you to succeed is to seek for a job. It is automatic.
Perfect. It is something that has been implanted.
Yeah. That if you're done with school, write a CV, write down an application, start hunting for
a job.
Start throwing in your applications to different human resource offices, because you know you have a getaway.
A getaway.
But
You
of
have
course,
a degree.
we have quite a number of people already in offices who have not actually been to school, and simply because they established the most important thing about life is working on themselves, understanding a skill, because it is more important for you to have a skill that you add to a company than your education papers. So at the end of it all, you realize that I think the education format has disorganized the way we do things, or we are on a system as if we are, even a computer can actually adapt to a new thing.
A new thing, absolutely.
If you give it a new application, it can fit to it. Unless it's updated, but you'll have obviously update the windows of this computer or anything. But so I think we as Ugandans first and foremost need to be, we're not supposed to be static. We need to at least try to change how we do certain things. We need to be more flexible in life. And I think it goes back to even the kind of officers we have. You see, I've come to realize that actually WhatsApp has changed a lot of things. Has changed the flow of communication. Back then, you see, even Uganda Revenue Authority, for example, even has a WhatsApp number. Almost, actually, every organization. Almost. Because now they know, with the kind of generation we are in, if you don't simplify things to the way people understand you're out. And you in the communication world need to greatly know that, for example, if it's a WhatsApp message, people feel better texting than even
find it
calling.
easy, yeah.
So if someone feels like, if I call you, you're not going to pick my call. But if I see you online and I send you multiple messages, you will still open. You will say, why is this one over disturbing me? Because even when we talk about emails, how many people definitely check on their emails? Apart from people who are actually working in PR, media, those are kind of the jobs that actually see people,
by the way,
opening their emails. You find that somebody can open an email, probably they opened it in 2017, and up to now they have never gotten it. They only use it for maybe if at all they have a new phone to back
up, only that, yes.
But in most cases, we realize only people who are in media-related issues, PR, those in human resource, those are the people in different companies, are people who normally utilize emails. And transfer of emails normally during times of please find attached, that is in workspaces in the formal sector. Those are people who use emails. Now, for example, if someone who is a self-employed Ugandan, you don't expect that person to use an email. So you as a Uganda Revenue Authority person who expects this person to be compliant to tax, you have to make sure you are simplifying things for this person. You will send him an email, he's not going to reply to you. Because first of all, you've set a system that an email has to flow in this way. So for him, he will feel better. You come and text, give me your WhatsApp number. Let me text you
what I feel straight away.
Straight away. You understand the other issue. So I think the world that we are in currently, self-education, but most importantly, the only good thing about self-education is it eliminates the barriers of systems or that bureaucracy.
And we've seen even people that transform the world into into the kind we're seeing it now. They had to break a certain system of what was perceived. So I don't know, as you're watching in there, what do you really think of that? Self-education, how far have you gone in terms of educating yourself? Doesn't mean that, Jora mentioned something, don't be getting a skill every day and forget the previous. You can choose one particular skill and you decide to, to capitalize on that, yeah, you can make it regardless. Well, that was our business tips and quotes for this morning. Hope this can be something for you to kickstart off your week. It could probably take you throughout the week or even towards the end of the month. Now, heading into our other discussion here. This is something to do with Parliament scrutinizing the Ministry of Works and Transport loan. And of course, this was intended to construct the Uganda Railway. And we see that it was about 146 billion, of course, shillings provided for compensation. But anyway, before we proceed into this, let's first of all get into this discussion. We shall be returning to wrap this up with Joram.
Minister of Finance and the Minister of Transport has brought to our committee a loan in regard to working on the Malaba, Jinja, Kampala railway gauge. In fact, this loan is timely in a situation that the road from Kampala to Malaba is highly congested. And these days, the level at which people are getting accidents is so high. So we needed this loan more than today. In fact, we needed it yesterday. And for me, even given the terms of the loan, because I'm seeing it is even user-friendly, because to be paid, because the conditions are so friendly, because paying it in 40 years, for example, the interest rate, and also it is within the work plan of government under the NDP3. So for me, as a committee member, I have no objection and I really support it. Only that my concern is in regard to the issue of compensation. Because we have approved loans for many government projects, and you see people continue to demand the government, landowners, where these projects pass. So it is imperative that now that we have approved this loan, there is a need for the implementers to ensure that the landowners are fully compensated. It is the reason I've even asked whether the component of compensation of the landowners, whether it is embedded, and it was proved, it was confirmed to us that 50% of the loan will go to the area of compensation.
But now we are saying, let us start with the work to be done and do the costing. The costing may not arrive at what we had anticipated initially. So, Mr. Chairman, I think the point here is the work will be done at minimal cost, and the grant element will reduce even the cost further. Mr. Chairman, on the compensation, we shall definitely compensate people. We have provided for an amount of 148 billion as compensation in the life of the project. Starting this financial year, we will be compensating people, and at the end of the day, we shall spend 148 billion on compensation, out of which 50% of the grant will go for compensation of the project affected persons.
Well, that was in regards to, of course, compensation for the people that were displaced as a result of constructing, that is the railway line. And for the loan obtained, that was about over 146 billion. 50% is going to be used for compensation. I know these are some of the challenges people face, most especially, we've seen this even just away from the railway, when, I mean, they're doing some road enlargement, adjustments, and you people that constructed nearby, you have to be evacuated. Compensation issues. We've seen people that have not been compensated, actually.
Well, first and foremost, we have issues with the Ugandan National, with the Uganda Railways Corporation.
Yeah.
Reason being, there are people who have actually already settled, who are already settled in the reserve.
The reserve, yeah.
Because there is always a land reserve. I think we've been able to see at least these markings that are normally put on the roadsides.
Yeah.
Either it's UNRA or UR. Now, the UR represents the Uganda Railways. And of course, there's actually been dismantling of people, dismantling of property that is in the reserves of the Uganda railway space because of the construction of the standard gauge railway.
Yeah.
And of course, as well as upgrading the meter gauge railway so that the railway system on railway network in Uganda continues to grow. So when you look at this particular one, the Parliament or the committee in Parliament was actually scrutinizing the Ministry of Works and Transport for the loan they actually got. And the Ministry of Works and Transport loan, Minister of Works and Transport went in there to Parliament seeking for a loan, which loan they are going to actually use to construct the new phase of the railway.
The railway.
And of course, this is actually looking at upgrading of course, the meter gauge railway, and of course, not only upgrading, but also kick-starting off the journey of the standard gauge railway, or what you could call the SGR. But also in the long run, there's also 146 billion within the money,
which is to be provided,
which is
for compensation,
of those who are going to be, displaced during the construction of the two. So at least this is from Malaba, because Kenya is on the drive of actually pushing the SGR, because it actually stopped in Naivasha.
Okay,
so the SGR that stopped in Naivasha will definitely have to stretch further to either Kisumu or directly to the border. And the provisions are Uganda will definitely have to stretch from the port, from the one-stop border post, or from Malaba, the border, moving directly to Kampala. That is through Jinja to Kampala. So you get to realize that there is more money needed, and then the compensation part of it is because they will definitely need to at least have a very huge space where the trains will actually be passing, or where the rails will be passing. You don't wish to have
something which is
cases whereby it's actually very active in India, whereby houses are in here and the train is passing within. Within the residentials. So you wonder what really happens. I think it's the same kind of situation in Namuongo, in areas around Soweto. There's some place called Soweto there.
In Namuongo.
Whereby there were issues. Namuongo, there's Kasamvu. There are areas in there. There's some slum areas in Namuongo there, around Bukasa, where the train actually, the rails actually passing within the markets. So you can easily see these are things you wouldn't wish to happen, because at times a train which doesn't stop like a taxi, if children, for example, are passing or playing around, anything can happen. We've seen accidents where the train is actually hitting vehicles. How about if it meets a person? So I think this compensation part of it is to make sure that people who settled lawfully, and of course, at times, there are people who actually settled
unlawfully. Let me ask, what about those who settled unlawfully? They're not entitled to...
Those are people who settled when the land was already... there are people who can actually settle when they've already seen markings of a road reserve, or a reservation. Coming in from, let's say, Uganda Railways Reserve. And someone just puts up a business. So those are people who have settled unlawfully. Because at least you want to ask, before you even buy that piece of land, for example, you have to, first of all, make some surveillance. Is this land free? Because at least if you have a land surveyor, the land surveyor would say, before you put your money or invest in such a property, you should as well know that within the next 5 years, this and this will happen. Though it is it's actually reported that we have quite a number of people who do it deliberately, because they know in maybe 5 years' time, the government will be owning that land. So what they do is they buy it, and after buying the land, they wait for government compensation.
When so
it's more like
it's like you
buy a property of 5 million, the government is going to come and compensate you, and you charge the government the amount you want. It's
are so wise.
It's a very huge case. I actually heard of one scenario in Kajansi there, where someone actually bought land to construct a fuel station around where the expressway is going to pass. Unfortunately for him, though, the government changed where I think the land surveyors changed where the road will pass.
Okay.
And so it was quite unfortunate.
So he didn't get the compensation. He bought it with that
intent. And rushed to put up a fuel station. This is, of course, these are theories of people who are saying that he put it up because according to the person putting it up, many people were actually saying he was targeting the compensation part of it. And it normally happens in quite a number of ways. The business people who risk it all. He knows that obviously there is going to be a train passing in the next 5 years. So he decides to put up something there that will not only last for that long, because he knows by the time the government starts construction, they'll have no option but to compensate him. So these are things that normally happen, by the way.
Interesting how ways people really make money in Uganda through such initiatives of that. Well, it's 2 minutes to 8:30, and of course, don't forget the markets on the Zabo platform are already on. *292# is the code for you there, which will avail you with a number of options where you'll be in position to buy government bonds, securities for a fee of 15,000 Ugandan shillings. Now, the markets opened at 8:15 a.m. and they will be running all the way to 3:15 p.m. East African time, and going to be effective up to Friday, apart from the weekend and public holidays when these markets don't operate. And this week there is no public holiday, so the markets, we have the entire week. So what are you waiting for? Be a part of this great opportunity. This will uplift your financial life and money working for you. *292# is simply the code, and the will be very eloquent and efficiently moving in terms of that. Now, Zab says, my money, my future. And All Texas Africa says, do something new. It's the year 2023. And now let's get into the break. When we return, of course, business and entertainment and sports in the pipeline.